I always thought that Gilmore Girls was a pretty basic comfort show that people just stick on in the background and not really pay attention to. And it's just one of those things that people watched when they were younger, and so they can't help themselves but to go back and put it on once a year because it's so cozy and comforting. But I think I was wrong. And I'm not going to talk about every single episode and break it down season by season today. I just want to talk about the vibes and the feelings that I got while rewatching it again in 2026. So, is it one of those things that looking back now, you can look at with a different lens? Yes, I think it is. There's probably some bits in there, like every show of its era, where they're probably not appropriate now. They probably wouldn't make the lines in the same way as they do now. But that aside, taking it on face value for what it is and what it was made for at the time, I think we can break it down into a few different layers. So, me myself, I hadn't really paid much attention to Gilmore Girls until a couple of years ago. It's one of those things where it's one of my wife's favourite shows. So at least once a year, it's on. It's the sort of thing that she can put on in the evening and fall asleep to, and it will just be on. And I've never really, I don't know, absorbed the information that was going on around me. I just sort of didn't pay much attention. It's because I didn't watch it when I was a teenager, unlike her. So she's got this real like nostalgic connection to it, whereas I am sort of coming into it a little bit late. So I think I probably first watched it 5 years ago, something like that. So pretty late on compared to when it finished. But this was the first time that I actually decided I'm going to really pay attention rather than dipping in and out, playing on my phone, doing all that other stuff. I thought, right, I know it's a cozy comfort show, but I want to really give it a try. So sort of autumn last year, as we were coming into that sort of season, that's when it usually gets booted up. Right, we're going for our yearly rewatch. Everyone gets excited online, I know that. And so that was the time where I thought, well, this is it. I'm going to give this a shot. And I am really, really glad I did. So let's take it layer by layer. Layer one, I think we can say it's definitely cozy. I think that's what it's most known for. The whole vibe of the show, the way that it's filmed, it's a little bit grainy, it's not high def, partly due to its age, but also I think that's a style choice at some points as well. I think they could quite easily have upgraded it, and you'll notice that there's like a new season that came out, like a reboot, relaunch one. The filming is just not quite the same. So that kind of era of show, it really lends itself to that coziness, as well as the Stars Hollow as a location, as a town. All of the buildings and all of its folk are all very small town, very cute, very quirky, a lot of wood, a lot of like grass and trees, nature, that kind of thing. There's no built up things, there's hardly any cars. It's just a real quiet, small town. Everybody knows each other. And yeah, it's just a very sweet, cozy town. So I think that is one of the main things. And it's one of those as well. One of my favorite shows I did a video about, Paradise, is filmed on the same set. And every time I'm like seeing bits of the town, I'm like, oh look, that's Miss Patty's. Oh look, that's Luke's Diner. It's so iconic, you can't really get away from it. It's really cool when it pops up. We were watching, so after this, we were watching Pretty Little Liars. Don't know if you've seen that. Crazy show. I've mentioned it once or twice. I will make a video on it, but it's so bizarre, that thing. It's so convoluted and crazy, but that's also filmed at the same like studios, so you still get the Stars Hollow set, and there's just something about it. You just, even though, like I said, I don't have that connection from when I was younger, like I don't have the nostalgia, but I still feel it. It even feels iconic to me. I didn't grow up watching it, so it's something really special. So I can absolutely tell why it is people's comfort show. It's just so warm and inviting. There's so much coffee and so much like ambient chatter. Like the background characters are all so good. The way that the dialogue is written is quite fast paced, and that kind of flow and rhythm, you never really get anybody. There is shouting, like they do raise the volume, but because you have that rhythm, I think it's quite therapeutic on some level to just have it and listen to it in the background. Let me know if you agree, because I know there are people that are kind of on the fence with the dialogue. They do speak quite quickly, and I think that's okay. I like it, but I think that's layer two. So we've got cozy comfort at the top. Layer two is the writing. So the writing style is pretty unique. I think it did pave the way for a lot more, what did I say? Not over explaining, but a lot more words in dialogue. This was one of the first shows that I can think of where they really did hammer home points. There was lots of quick-witted one-liners, and it's very fast-paced, almost like a theatre production. Some shots feel like they're just one camera following the action, and they're just rattling off this dialogue. And it must have taken a heck of a training session to get that nailed down. It's very impressive, and the style is very funny. So part of sitting down and actually watching it and listening to it, you do pick up on just how much back and forth banter and the jokes and like how they treat each other as characters. I think because it's a small town and they all know each other very well, they can get away with it. I don't think you could get away with it for someone that you weren't super close to. But growing up in a small town myself, I feel like, yes, there are definitely people like this that exist in a small town. And you do get a lot of that kind of cheeky back and forth with someone that you see at the shop every day, but you might not necessarily be their friend, and that kind of thing. So it is funny. A couple of the characters in particular have some fantastic lines. We'll get into characters a little bit more in a bit, but people like Richard, Grandad, Michelle, he's hilarious. Luke has some really good dialogue, especially with Lorelai. That's obviously a dynamic that evolves and changes throughout the show. But yeah, absolutely fantastic writing. So that was what I'd say is probably layer two. Layer three, you've then got, so if the writing is quick and funny, you've also got a layer about the kind of seriousness and the relationships that form, and it tackles all types of relationships. There's everything from the mother-daughter, obviously, but you've got like the three generations, right? So we start with Emily at the top, then we've got Lorelai, and then we've got Rory. And their dynamic is explored throughout the whole thing. It changes, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes they're getting on, most of the time they're not when it comes to Emily and Lorelai. But that can also be said for Rory and Lorelai as well. They fall out, they make up, they have this kind of friendship thing, but they're also trying to set boundaries with each other as Rory grows up. And she's, like I said, in this small town, so maybe Lorelai wants to give her a bit of freedom, but she's kind of isolated because everybody's trying to protect her. Maybe she's not ready for that real world. And then Emily lives in her own world where, because of her wealth, she is completely oblivious to half the things that are going on. So it's really interesting, that dynamic. And you've got everything from that all the way through to Suki and Jackson, who it's almost like from day one they are in love, and it's really sweet and they're really good together, and that's really nice to see that style of relationship as well. But not only do we have that sweet side of things, we also have the kind of Lorelai, Suki and Michelle co-worker relationships, which they explore. We've all had, I'm sure, a job where it feels like you're working with family, and this really highlights that. They always sort of have a lot of fun, sometimes at each other's expense, sometimes at the customer's expense. So that's really good as well. And then you've got everything from like Hep Alien, the band dynamics that change and flow throughout the seasons, the friendships that they create, like Rory and Lane, the fact that Lane has to sort of hide everything from her mum because she wouldn't necessarily approve of some of the things that Lane is doing, like with the music and that sort of thing. It's got so much. It's just a massive spectrum of relationships and exploring those relationships, and it does often turn those into something that is not only relatable but quite funny as well. You've also got like Jess, who comes into Luke's life kind of unexpectedly, as well as his daughter that comes into his life unexpectedly. He always seems to just have to go with the flow and put up with Taylor and things. So I think, yeah, there's multiple layers, but maybe we should talk about some of these specific characters. So let's focus on some of the main ones, even though I love like Miss Patty and Babette. There's so many good characters in this that we'd be here all day if we were trying to talk about each of them and how great they are. So let's take them from the top, and we'll start with Lorelai. Watching this as an adult, you kind of understand sometimes where Lorelai is coming from. She sort of left home and she wants to do things her way. She wants to make a name for herself, and she wants to provide for Rory in every way she can, and she wants to do it on her terms. And you kind of respect that. That's fair. But some of the decisions she makes are just terrible. Absolutely terrible. A massive example for me of like how awful some of her decision making is her engagement to Max, and how the thing that breaks it down almost is that she realizes she's going to have to live with this person. Like she hadn't thought that through. She just kind of agreed, despite the fact that she is obviously independent and wants to do her own thing. She's agreed to marry someone and then been like, oh, yeah, you're going to have to live here. Like, people don't live here. It's where me and Rory live. So it's almost like she was never actually going to go through with that. The way that she completely flies off the handle when it comes to any time Rory is remotely in some sort of trouble, and she blames everyone apart from her perfect daughter, which again you can sort of see if you're watching it from an adult perspective and you're thinking that your kid can do no wrong and is the best thing ever. You can understand why she might do that, but my goodness, she is not always correct about the way she goes about these things. The way that she treats Jess a lot of the time, especially early on, is just not okay. Yeah, she's just, I don't know. Like I said, I have a bit of respect for Lorelai, but at the same time, she can be a bit much. I think that's fair. Whereas if we look at Rory, and by the way, I think Lorelai, generally speaking, I'd say she's fine. I think she's okay. I'm not anti Lorelai or anything like that. But when it comes to Rory, she's so sheltered. Bless her. She just wants to do the right thing all the time, and that can get frustrating. Her choices when it comes to relationships are not good. She obviously starts with Dean, then likes Jess, but doesn't want to leave Dean because it's her first boyfriend and she's really good, but she doesn't. Dean knows that she likes Jess. It's a whole thing. I think actually Logan is probably the best boyfriend that she has. If that's a wild thing to say maybe, but I quite like Logan. He is what he is. He just is unapologetic. He just does his thing. You kind of know what you're getting with him. So I think actually that was pretty good for Rory. it was definitely a more, I was going to say mature, but it's not really. It was just one of those things that, I don't know, Dean was just, he started out with good intentions for her, but he just was so bad by sort of halfway through. He was awful. I mean, and if you don't agree with it, he cheats on his wife, right? He's not a good guy. But yeah, so Rory, I think, she's so sheltered, but she does always want to try and do the right thing, and that's fair enough. I just think, again, she just was not ready for the real world. Once she left her like Stars Hollow and she was out there, she realized how hard things were going to be. She went running back to her grandparents, who, I mean, they're, like I said, they're so wealthy that they're on their own planet. They don't really understand the struggles of the world, and I think that's what, Rory was hoping for, was to just sit in that bubble almost. So she went from, I'm going to be a journalist who goes out to war zones and things like that. That's what she started off wanting to be, and that's really like cool and everything. And then she just regressed into this bubble because she realized that actually I'm not going to be protected when I'm out there. I don't have the safety. I'm going to have to figure things out. And Lorelai doing everything for her, the town doing everything for her, really did set her back, I think. It was only really Paris, I think, that encouraged her to really move forward and evolve as a person. I'm trying to think of other people. I mean, Logan's another one. He got her out of her shell a little bit. But Paris really put things into perspective with, like, her application for college, telling her, well, it's all well and good you having these grades, but what else have you got? I'm doing all these things. You're so far behind. And yeah, that was a pretty bad realization she had at that point. Who else have we got? Right. So we've done Lorelai and Rory. They're fine. The main person who I like above all the others in the show, especially having really watched it, is Luke. I really like Luke, and yes, there is one big mistake that I think he made, but generally speaking, I think he's a decent guy and he does try his best, and he just cares about people. So all he wants to do is look after other people, sometimes at the detriment of himself. But his one big mistake was when he found out that he had a daughter, was not sort of telling Lorelai straight away. Now, he doesn't have to, that's fine. Lorelai probably would have understood if he just said it straight away, but the fact that he let this thing fester and change into a big secret that was a really big error on his part. He could have been so much happier and much less stressed if he just said, look, Lorelai, I've just found this out. I'm not ready for you to be part of April's life because of XYZ. He doesn't even have to give a reason. He just wants to build a relationship between him and April. He doesn't even have to say that the mum doesn't want her involved or whatever. He can just be like, well, I know we are like together, but I want to spend this time getting to know the daughter that I have just been made aware of. And that would have been fine. But he didn't do that. Other than that, though, I think the fact that he went out of his way to take care of Jess, he looks after Liz and TJ as best as he can. He always takes care of Rory and Lorelai. He always has space. He gives Lane the job. He's always got space for people. He puts up with an awful lot. He's always there to listen to people like Kirk, who, that's a whole nother thing. Do you know that Sean Gunn, he didn't actually realize that this was going to be a recurring job. He just thought he was going to rock up and do a scene or two, and then he was going to find something bigger. He didn't realize that it would grow into a role. And that's a really fun story. But going back to Luke, I'm not sure if Scott Patterson can actually act. I've watched him in Sullivan's Crossing as well. Now, I don't know if you've seen Sullivan's Crossing, but he's the same character. He is literally, you take Luke, slightly older, put him in a cabin, that's the show. So I'm not sure he can act, but I think he does a great job anyway of bringing Luke to life. And he is definitely, I think, my favourite character in the show. I also love Lane, and a real quick shout out to my boy Gil from Hep Alien, a real life musician, but makes his appearance on the show as kind of an older guy that fills into the band when they need a guitarist, and he's just so good. All he wants to do is play guitar and look after his wife and kid. Absolute ledge. So yeah, shout out to Gil. And like I said, there's so many other characters. We could talk about Richard and Emily till the cows come home. Richard's got some fantastic dialogue, especially early on. There are some really good scenes with Richard and Emily. Recommend, if you're watching it again, to really pay attention in some of those earlier scenes because they're just fantastic. So overall, let's have a think. Yes, it's a comfort show, but I think it's definitely so much more than that. And I recommend anybody, really, if you're not sure, if you want to watch this show, maybe you think, I'm not sure, it's not really for me, I'm not the target audience. Honestly, just give it a try. There's plenty of episodes, and you may not want to watch them all, but just at least give it a shot. Stick it on in the background if you really want that cozy vibe. Pay attention if you want some fantastic dialogue. And yeah, it's just a really solid show. No wonder people watch it time and time again. We are going to rewatch it again, I'm sure, in the next 6 months. Or at least when summer's over and you want that cozy mug of coffee, you just sit down and eat something to fall asleep. And I look forward to that day. I can't wait for it to come back around, and I'm sure it will. But yes, I think that's everything. If I've missed anything, if there's more that you want me to talk about when it comes to Gilmore Girls, let me know in the comments down below and we can have a chat about your favourite characters or your favourite episodes, whatever you want to chat about. I'm more than up for, so let me know. And thank you so much for watching. This has been the Gilmore Girls rewatch. Is it still worth it in 2026? Absolutely.